With the growth of anti-Semitism and Nazi anti-Jewish policy in the late 1930s came a turning point, instigated by propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels. Kristallnacht, or the Night of Broken Glass, occurred on November 9, 1938, in response to the killing of a German diplomat. Over 1,000 synagogues were set on fire, and 76 were completely destroyed. More than 7,000 Jewish homes and businesses were looted and vandalized, and over 100 Jews died, and thousands more were arrested. The invasion and eventual takeover of Poland in September 1939 began the development and formation of the ghettos. The ghettos were formed around the Jewish districts of the cities, but Jews who did not live in this area were also forced to move there. On November 23, 1939, General Governor Hans Frank issued an ordinance that Jews 10 years of age and older living in the general government had to wear the Star of David on armbands or pinned to the chest or back. This made it easier to distinguish Jews from non-Jews when establishing the ghettos. Larger cities, such as Warsaw, had closed ghettos with brick or stone walls, wooden fences, and barbed wire defining the boundaries. Guards were placed strategically at gateways and other boundary openings. Jews were not allowed to leave the so-called Jewish residential districts under penalty of death. Ghetto life was wretched. The ghettos were filthy with poor sanitation. Extreme overcrowding forced many people to share a room. Disease was rampant. Staying warm was difficult during bitter cold winters without adequate warm clothes and heating fuel. Food was in such short supply that many slowly starved to death. This ghetto ration card from October 1941 officially entitled the holder to 300 calories daily. Many children smuggled food from outside the ghetto in order to feed themselves and their families, despite the fact that they could be killed for doing so. Dr. Emanuel Ringelblum was one of the leaders of the anti-fascist bloc in the Warsaw Ghetto, and he organized the underground ghetto archives. His notes from the Warsaw Ghetto gave detailed accounts of daily events and conditions. He was murdered by the Gestapo in March 1944. Dr. Ringelblum hid documents and materials to preserve for future generations detailed information about life in the Warsaw Ghetto. In September 1946, the metal boxes were discovered under the ruins of a house. In December 1950, the milk cans with the second part of the archives were recovered. These materials and documents are now in the Jewish Historical Institute in Warsaw. April 19, 1943 marked the beginning of an armed revolt by a courageous and determined group of Warsaw Ghetto residents. The Jewish Fighter Organization, ZOB, led the insurgency and battled for a month, using weapons smuggled into the ghetto. The Nazis responded by bringing in tanks and machine guns, burning blocks of buildings, destroying the ghetto, and ultimately killing many of the last 60,000 Jewish ghetto residents. The Warsaw Ghetto Uprising was the first large uprising by an urban population in German-occupied territory. Before the uprising, the ghettos made it easy for the Nazis to round up the Jews to send them to concentration camps and death camps. In the beginning of the systematic mass murder of Jews, Nazis used mobile killing squads called Einsatzgruppen. The Einsatzgruppen consisted of 4 units of between 500 and 900 men each, which followed the invading German troops into the Soviet Union. By the time Himmler ordered a halt to the shooting in the fall of 1942, they had murdered approximately 1,500,000 Jews. Concentration camps, already begun as work camps in 1933, proved to be even more effective in carrying out the final solution.